Artificial food colors have been among the most controversial food additives ever since pediatric allergist Dr. Benjamin Feingold back in 1973 published a book claiming that hyperactivity, or as we now call it ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is linked to the consumption of artificial dyes and to other components in food, naturally occurring compounds called salicylates. And those are found in many fruits and vegetables. Well, since that time, a number of studies have been done, but the original claim by Feingold really hasn't been corroborated. There was a study in 2007 that was published in the Lancet, a prime medical journal, by researchers at Southampton University, where they carried out a double-blind study, giving kids food dyes together with a preservative called sodium benzoate. And they said that they also found an association between the consumption of these dyes and ADHD. However, the European Food Safety Agency, EFSA, looked at the data and they found that it wasn't compelling. There were too many uncertainties involved in the study. So where does this leave us? I mean, let's face it. Artificial dyes are not required, right? These are just added to make products look more appealing. And as a general rule, I would suggest that foods that contain a large number of artificial dyes are generally poor nutritional foods anyway, and therefore it is in our interest to minimize their consumption. How do you know whether or not a particular kind of food contains dyes? Well, there are some very interesting and new regulations that have come into play in Canada since December of 2021. Whereas before, it was possible to just list colors as one term on a label. Now the exact nature of the artificial dyes has to be identified. So for example, if you have red number 40 in there, you have tartrazine or yellow number 5, it has to be on the label. And similarly for natural dyes. So for example, these days, Smarties are made with natural dyes, but they still have to be listed. You have to put beet juice extract or carotene extract or sunflower extract. Whatever natural coloring is used has to be put on the label. But those natural colors are not very controversial. More controversial are the artificial dyes. And so products like Skittles, for example, that used to have on the label color added, no longer can they have that. Now they will have to list the specific dyes. Now, whether or not this will have any health implications is very difficult to say, but there is anecdotal evidence that some children do have differences in behavior if they consume foods that contain a lot of dyes. But in any case, as I said, there is no harm in staying away from foods that contain lots of artificial dyes because they generally tend to be not very nutritious foods anyway. And that for today is our Cup of Joe.